My name is Jordan Mellinger, and this is my third weather briefing. Starting with the surface analysis chart, we see stationary fronts over most of the country in the northwest across Washington, Idaho, and western Montana, with a cold front over the east side of the state, with further stationary fronts in the Midwest across Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Wisconsin, and the Great Lakes, Michigan area, and in the south across Alabama and Georgia into the Atlantic. With low pressure systems off both coasts, but largely centered in the west, southwestern states, we see high pressure systems over British Columbia, Nevada, Arizona, and the Colorado-New Mexico border, the Gulf Coast, and off the Carolinas and Maryland's coast. Moving into the radar, we can see light to moderate rain over the south and southwestern states, with pockets of moderate to heavy rain centered over Missouri and Illinois, which we can see lines up with the dense cloud coverage over the Midwest and more scattered coverage over Nevada, Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico in the visible satellite. And likewise in the IR satellite coverage, with the densest regions of clouds, particularly in the southwest, coinciding with the indicated rainfall on the radar. As for the convective outlook, we see most of the south and northeast covered in a general thunderstorm area extending over large areas of the Midwest and Southwest before tapering off in the Northwest around Oregon, Idaho area, with two areas of marginal risk covering Missouri and Illinois, another over North Dakota ending in northwest South Dakota, and a slight risk over central North Dakota indicating a low coverage or small numbers of severe thunderstorms expected. As for air mets, we have IFR conditions below 10,000 off the California coast with high-level turbulence between 32 and 42,000 feet over Montana and Maine, with low-level turbulence over eastern Montana and western North Dakota at the surface to 7,000. Low-level wind shear is noted over North Dakota and mountain obscuration over the northeast states and the Appalachians around the North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia border, with most of the southwest, midwest, and south having a freezing level at 16,000 and icing between 14 and 24,000 on the Maine coast. While for SIGMETs, we can see a lot of convective activity and thunderstorms centered around the southern and southwestern states extending up into the central Midwest. As for PIREPs, of particular note is an urgent PIREP for wind shear on final for runway 22 over Punta Guarda Airport in Florida made by an Airbus A320, and rime icing at 26,000 over Northern California by Piper Cheyenne, with light chop and moderate turbulence extending across the center of the country at mid to high altitudes. As for the freezing level, nearly all the country has a freezing level ranging between 15 and 17,000, with only in the northeast having significant areas having the freezing level extending between 13 and 15,000 feet, with the notable exception of the area around South Carolina and off the Baja Peninsula, and pockets over Nebraska, South Dakota, New Mexico, and Tennessee extending above 17,000 feet. As for the local weather, Grand Forks is currently seeing winds at 16 knots gusting 28 knots from the south and visibility of 10 statute miles, with few clouds at 4,500 and scattered at 25,000 feet, and a hot temperature dew point of 32 and 19. And for the visible satellite, you can see light to moderate cloud coverage on the western portion of the state, turning to light coverage between Minot and Devil's Lake area, leaving the rest of the state mostly clear for a beautiful weekend. And for the radar in the area, there's nothing of note in North Dakota or any of the surrounding states, with the same story for PIREPs, with no aircraft having any weather of note to report. Moving into the low-level prog chart, we will start to see the IFR conditions continue to spread up the west coast into Oregon, with large portions of the Midwest, Southeast, and Northeast turning to IFR surrounded by marginal. As for North Dakota, we will start to see moderate or greater turbulence develop at 7,000 feet, extending into South Dakota that will continue out of the area southwards in the next 24 hours at 8,000 feet. As the high levels As with the high-level significant weather chart, the jet streams will be located at 37,000 feet over the British Columbia-Yukon area before dipping south into the Saskatchewan-Manitoba area at 35,000 feet, with the high part of the tropopause at 53,000 feet off the Pacific coast and a low of 29,000 feet in Manitoba. While we have isolated embedded cumulus clouds with bases below 25,000 feet and tops at 35 to 50,000 feet over Arizona, the Midwest, and Florida. As for the wind's loft at Grand Forks, we can see the winds are out of the west-northwest at all altitudes above 3,000 feet, below which they are out of the south at 190, with the freezing level ranging between 12,000 and 18,000 feet. And finally, for the TAF, for the Grand Forks area, we will see the winds shift out of the south to the northwest, with speeds diminishing between the 14th at 1729 Zulu and the 15th at 1700 Zulu, while a cloud base rises from 4,000 feet to 25,000 feet in that same period.